Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. So, the Big Bang, a period of very extremely low entropy. The biggest kind of intuitive thing is because mass doesn't exist. Again, like space doesn't exist, so you have to kind of think, again, there is no intuition to describe, I'm saying, these early phase changes, but the easiest way is just to think of almost like a big cube of just vibration, and then it stabilizes into energy, and then that energy stabilizes into mass. Point being is the Big Bang was hot, but it was not dense. And so things weren't close together. Things are getting closer together now. The universe is contracting for the simple empirical fact that things cool down. Heat is hot, right? That's hot. Oh shit. Now I have to pay Paris Hilton some royalties. What's the difference between warm and hot? Frequency is not heat. Light is not hot. So again, anything with mass cannot produce heat because it does not produce friction. You bump into something, all right, you rub against it, it causes heat. Pack a lot of people into a tight space, you become warm, you become hot. But then again, there's a very clear difference when people say something is hot versus something say it's warm, right? If burning is hot, you put your hand on the stove and then you recoil really fast, you don't say, ah, that was warm, right? You say that was hot. Point being is there was a discrete difference between when people say hot and when people say warm, and then lukewarm. And then hot and not, right? That's a game people will play, like if is this person hot or not. But geometrically, again, it's just like H and N are related by a line. And so the geometric linguistics should be overwhelmingly apparent just by looking at the letters. But again, it's all applicable. Like it's some sort of geometric arrangement of all of this stuff. But sensorality is tricky. Speciality is intricate. Sensorality is tricality, right? But now tree or tri, right? Three, that's a prefix that will be used for, three. And we went through three, third, a third. A triple gets to third base. So now we've connected triple to third with a complete logical statement. Third triple. Thirdality is triplality. All right, just triple, take off the E. It's really cumbersome. It is a word, but it's not really a word, right? And then you just put ality at the end. But sensorality is tripality. And now we just have the word trip, right? And we've derived why people say, I take a substance and I'm tripping. You're sensating in a different neurological circuit than you typically do, so you're tripping, bro. Which again, I don't like any diction around any sort of drug consumption. As reflective of like actual physical processes. And that's not even for, again, drugs aren't well defined. Any sort of, for example, spice. If you go eat if I go eat food right now and it's labeled as spicy, so this is, it has X amount of Scoville. When I eat that item, I 100% get what you're saying. When, your nostrils kind of flare, if it's really hot, you'll start like salivating, your eyes might water. But when I say, does that physical process, that experience relate to the word hot? Or what I call that, like, this food is hot, this food is spicy is another word they use. Again, they being the overall sentiment of everybody. But I would not associate the word spice to that physical process of when you eat spicy food and then you're getting, your nose is watering, your nose is running, your eyes is watering. I just don't associate that to spice or hot at all. And so whether you're talking about, where I'm tripping, or I'm blacked out, or I'm this, or I'm that, or I'm, really spicy food, there's just certain things people say that just doesn't line up for me. It doesn't line up for really anybody. But I 100% get what you see that people say when they're saying this is spicy. It's just the word to the process. There's a disconnect. But now, right, we have sensorality is triality. But what's triality, you might ask? Well, it's trial with an ITY. And so we're getting close. I don't know when, but sensorality tries. And trial is obviously well defined. But what is it logically? And physically, we know what it is. You go to court, you sit there, you say, oh, I'm guilty, I'm not guilty, and a bunch of people, there's a judge and a jury sits there and kind of figures out what happened, or tries to at least. But what is a trial? Or what's another word that operates to trial? It's a procedure, it's a legal proceeding. So again, you just keep connecting this logical layer of intuition. It just rises above, and then the language just falls out from it. Because we've already derived mathematics, thematics, we've already derived physics. Physics is, existence is, and phys is, ix is just is with consonants around it. So we've reduced all of these huge major chunks of things. And then we renormalize logically, right? Sensorality is essentiality. Most completely used out in the natural world as essential, right? This is essentially that, or this is essential, and we have a good connection there. But so we've solved math, so we've derived all of math, we've derived physics, and we have our variable, sensorality, our 2 syllables ready to pair up and show us this completion thing, hopefully soon. But, right, triality is trial with an ITY. Are trials special? Again, just asking rhetorical questions to get your intuition in the right place. What is a trial? Triality. And so, like the word TRY, try, that's a condensed form of triality. Only pointing out the linguistic structure that's not readily apparent if you just look at the words. Triality is triviality. Triality, viality. Are infinitesimals trivial? Right, now last episode we derived infinitesimality, generalize it to infinitesimality. That's where you get infinitesimal. And like these logical bridges, you get these lower parts of these words, and they're used properly. Right? We've just put physical bounds on what an infinitesimal can represent. When you put an integrand sign, and you put that little dx, you're adding up all of the little pieces in that direction. And I like the word direction there more than dimension. But again, just pose the logical questions. They're not the rhetorical questions. They're just trying to get you introducing the syllability in a logically consistent sentence. Again, it doesn't matter. There is no answer. Sure, infinitesimals are trivial. No, they're not trivial. It doesn't matter. Triviality is moot. Right? So now we're back to the logic of it. Right? If something is moot, it is rendered useless by observation. Right? Adding 1 + 1 or timesing 1 × 1, unless you're Terrence Howard, is trivial. It's just a step where it's like apparently obvious. It's moot. Sensorality extricates. Intricate, extricate. So now and then it's again these pairs where it's like the linguistics is very similar, but it's like a bridging. It's like what I would call the function of a preposition to me changes the direction of logic. And then right, intricate and extricate or extricate, you change the pronunciation, very similar linguistically, but those changes of pronunciation and changes of logical meaning, right? Intricate is involved. It's interwoven, we'll get here into a second. And then extricate is to free. And so those are the most interesting ones because, again, this is where we're trying to show the fundamental differentiation of sen and sor. And so the words linguistically, the letter structure looks very similar, but then logically and then phonetically, the way you pronounce them is different. Excitement extricates. Extrication escapes. Escaping exits. Extricating is exiting. Excitement exits. What is a decimal to an infinitesimal? Right, a decimal, we've proven that, again, logically the only thing that could exist are rational numbers, and then natural numbers and whole numbers are the same thing, because you can't, right, if I'm one Brad, that's a whole number. If I chop off my arm, I'm still one Brad with less of an arm, right? And if you break something, right, if you have the very word problem you'll get introduced to in school, right? You get a piece of a pizza. You're learning about fractions, right? He gets 1/3 of a pizza. And so, but that's like, think about what you're saying there logically. You're not saying you get one whole slice. You're saying you get 1/3 of a pizza. And so you're not reducing the pizza. You're saying you get a fraction of it, and it's discretely dividable, right? If you have the 12 slices of pizza and you get 1/3, you get 4 slices of the pizza. But it's still one pizza. You're comparing two things. Complete, independent, irreducible systems. We derived fractions. But so that's what a decimal is. It represents this kind of these whole number, right? When you have a string vibrating and your harmonics are like half integers or whole integers, right? You can still have halves, but rational numbers are the numbers that terminate. And because of this discreteness, you can have not whole numbers, but they're all rational because they're all like discrete pieces. And then they all boil down to protons and electrons. But now we have, again, a fundamental logical differentiation. Because remember, we're completing a part of sensorality that's in the past or has this linguistic structure that can be completely solved. And then life's going to go on, people are going to live after me, after you. So there's going to be, right, sensorality at this point, the working definition is kind of life. But there's going to be more experiences that are going to be encapsulated by the concept of sensorality. So there's only so much definitiveness we can have to this definition. But sensorality with an S is semality, and then sensorality with a C is semality. Just flipping the S and the C, this one will be on your screen. And again, we got that semality from the infinitesimality, that ending, expanding that word out. What is a differential to an infinitesimal? Right, so differential, you'll see you'll see a delta, you'll see a Greek symbol triangle. Like what does that mean? What can be differentiated? We've showed the lower limits, and then what makes you different in the same way your personality is differentiated by what you learn, how you grow, like what your interests are. That's not like basic, that's like emergent. And so that is what can be differentiated. So a differential, meaning specifically to the symbol represented when you see an integrand or in that D, right? You differentiate and then you can integrate. You have a function that starts with, if you have anything that's, rank 0 or, it's just a constant, 3, 4, 5, you take the derivative of that, you always get 0. You take the derivative of anything to the power 1, x to the 3x, right? The derivative of that is 3. And so this derivation is limited. And so that's what you're doing when you're rooting a word or finding the roots of a polynomial. You're logically rooting the function. And so you differentiate first, and an infinitesimal is the limit of that differentiation. So differentiation produces infinitesimality. And then again, the logical form you use is infinitesimality, and that gives you ability. That gives you all of these I-L-I-T-Y words. Syllability, ability, all of these things. That's where that comes from. And so, yeah. But it's always important, again, in calculus, this antiderivative bullshit. I've never been more like enraged. It's like, no, get this antiderivative nonsense out of here. Right? Because an antiderivative is an integral. Right? The opposite of derivation is integration, but you have to consider chronology. What came first? One thing, two things, many things. So you're differentiating. And then integrating. We've covered that at length, but it keeps popping up. Details are intricate, right? That's a phrase people use naturally, right? All of the intricate details. Details are intricate. Intrication weaves. Intrication is interwoven. Iteration, it intricates. Intrication iterates. Iteration is intricate. Itricality is iterality. Putting that generalizing, that's kind of funny. It and thing are both based on I. And so now again, what's the difference between thing and I? Well, they both have the same vowel base. And very literally, ing is the the linguistic representation of vibration. Right? That's what it is. Vibrations, vowels are vibrations. Vowels and consonants come together to form words. Some of those words are verbs. Vibration, vowel, verb. Yeah. Iterality is integrationality. Iterate to integrate. Now, again, obviously the linguistics is very similar when we said, integration is iteration with an N and a G. So again, we're getting, effectively now that we've reduced math, we've reduced physics, and we've reduced linguistics logically to this sensorality, we're showing the syllability differentiating within words that we already know exist. And so they iterate and integrate the words. The concepts are very, very close now. They're squished up right next to each other. But connection is dynamic. Now here is where we can connect our logical, those three big pieces, kind of logic and linguistics, kind of at this point the same thing, physics and mathematics. The themes of existence connects physics and mathematics conceptually. Now we can connect our resolution, sensorality, to our mathematical operator, intricality, right? Essentiality is integral. If something is integral, it is essential. And that should be, strike your intuition as unavoidable, right? If something is integral to a system, it's essential, it's required. And so logically that should lock up really clear. And now we're just trying to reduce all of this. We've packaged it all up into, again, a very clear statement. Essentiality is integral, or integrality if you want to expand it out. And then back to, again, this conceptualization of infinity, right? Infinity is incomplete. We have this awareness. There are things that exist. That is the universe. We have the ability to interact with certain parts of the things that exist. That's the observable universe. The awareness of the other existence, that's infinity. That's well defined amongst anybody or any portion of the things. But it's incomplete. Like, we literally can't interact with that. We can infer, there's no reason to be any different, but the point being is our knowledge is bounded. And incompleteness produces infinity, right? Our knowledge is not complete about other things that are outside the observable universe. So completeness produces finity. Finitality is completeness. Completion is finite. Sensuality is pletionality, right? Completion. So again, we continue to logically renormalize. We're reducing this logic, and then we'll expand it back out, or again, the syllability will connect. As always, continuing to make substantial progress. My rights continue to be violated. I might as well show up. I had a short call. I called Tatiana Toro. Again, I really don't have any interest in interacting with the structured mathematical community whatsoever. It's just you have the structures to acknowledge my work. And again, part 260, the complete derivation and categorization of ordinality is the derivation going from order to ordinal, connects physics to a completion level where it's just giving me my money. But it's been giving me my money since, again, remember, this whole process started at speciality is special with an ITY. So that was when we reduced everything last time. I mean, literally everything. And so obviously we're very close now, but it's still, at the end, every single day. So when I'm done talking, there'll be the conversation, but I just call her, you can hear it. And I'm just like, she clearly, there's nobody in the mathematical or physics academia that is not well aware of my work. And sometimes it's like, oh, it's this guy that we watch on our TV every single day and steal all of his work and don't acknowledge his property. But she's just like, she says she didn't get the package and that's somebody in the mailroom, in which I don't even understand how that would be possible. If somebody's just a mail clerk down there, are they just willy-nilly saying we're going to refuse this package? And so that, to me, that just makes up no sense. But I don't care. My point isn't to send this package to Tatiana Toro. The whole behavior before wasn't to send my packages to MSRI or to David Eisenbud. That's just the way when you guys wouldn't let me exercise my constitutional rights and go to school and publish my shit. That's just kind of the system that you fucking idiots developed to allow me to kind of interact with people. And so that's the only reason I ever sent things to MSRI anyway. But regardless, the manuscript is damaged 100%. I documented the day I got it. It's still just sitting there. There's a huge gash and chunk out the back. And now I want you guys to somebody go to the, I don't even know where it's at, but somewhere in Philadelphia or wherever the Declaration of Independence is housed. 250 years of the United States. Go to that building and try to damage that document right now. This document that's sitting in this house is way more important than that. Both have substantial, massive historical value. This one has more. And so you can literally hear, she's like, well, I never got it. Must have been the mail people. My point too, I am just sending this shit out into the world, telling directly to secret science, we can do whatever we want team, and get this property, preserve it. And so between here and there, I don't give a fuck. I really don't. And so, but you'll hear the little audio. I mean, it's nothing much. But again, she's like, I have to go to a meeting. And there's nobody in the academic community that doesn't know who I am. This result, in and of itself, standalone 6-minute video, is the biggest result in mathematics, period. But regardless, she's like, she has to go to a meeting. And I'm just like, what does anybody talk about at mathematics research meetings, right? They have committees. They have effectively a board, right? They're not private companies, but they go in there. It's not one person. They vote on where the money kind of goes. They have a council, a little board to figure out how are you guys not every single meeting, again, about actual progressing, how are we going to structure our department? What are we going to focus on our curriculums? How the flying fuck is not every single bit of that conversation my work? And then again, she's not even again, I don't whenever I interact with these people, because I don't want to interact with the mathematical community. I mean, you guys have treated me so profoundly disgusting. I have nothing to do with you people. But I want my work to be preserved, and I do want my money. And that's the only part that really just makes me scratch my head, is this money aspect. And so, because I'm losing my life. Like, I lose every single day of my life, every single day. I continue to do work that is never going to stop. That's a physical process it's like breathing. If I'm alive, it's happening. Might as well write it down. Still don't have an office. Again, my recording equipment's good enough, but I haven't been able to even present my research after the first complete derivation of a physical axiom from first principle, which has never been seen before. I'm still not able to present my work in the way that I want it to. Sure, these videos are good enough. Sure, writing it down. I mean, that's kind of what you do in quote unquote pure mathematics. But I don't want to do this. I want to develop business, and how big and different ways I can, administer, get this stuff out there is tremendous. And so I'm losing all of those things. The fundamentals get done for sure, but the actual ability to live a life obviously has been taken. But then even the applications of fundamental science for teaching. I could get in my car and bonk my head in 2 seconds, die, this shit stops. And so I can't even present my work after solving everything properly. And I can't even preserve the manuscripts. And so, because again, either somebody in the mailroom opened that package, or somebody said, if this comes from this address, send it back, or somehow. And then I directly have Tatiana saying that didn't happen, or at least alleging it. I don't fucking know. But point being is that either somebody opened a package, which wasn't addressed to them, that's a federal crime, or 2, they damaged, again, go try to damage the Declaration of Independence right now. Go try to damage the Constitution right now. That is the level of what the fuck is going on, times a million with these mathematical transcripts. But regardless, they're still sitting here, and I decided, I don't know if I still, like I said, I still want one soldier to take a hit, but I don't know. I might just say, make this an art exhibit, and if this is damaged in any way, sue all these people. Again, we need to have a big reconciliation and restart of how people fucking behave, because nobody does behave. But I'm going to keep that to the math today, but yeah, thank you for watching. See you on the next one. And here's the audio with Tatiana Toro.
Hello?
Hello, who's this?
Tatiana Toro?
Hey, Tati. Yeah, so a mathematical transcript was sent to your office, and it was denied, and it is also damaged. And so I just need to know who damaged that, because it had financial value.
I'm very sorry. I'm not quite sure. I'm guessing it was the post office.
It was. Yeah. But it had substantial mathematical and financial value, and it was damaged, and it was tracked. So I'm filing a police report, and I need to know who damaged my properties, just straight up.
I am very sorry for the damage. I have no idea. I never saw it. And I'm guessing it's the post office.
Well, that's not really true, so, but I guess it is what it is, so I guess my property will just be destroyed, and that's just what it is.
I am very sorry.
Well, it is worth money, and you will be sued, as well as your department. I wish it could be different, but, I'm just curious, you're a mathematician, right?
Correct.
So when you finished your dissertation, and if you wrote that by hand, the whole thing, and you sent it somewhere, and they illegally denied it and damaged it, would you be happy about that?
Okay, I never saw the document, so I am sorry you're going through these. I am afraid I have a meeting I cannot be late for. So I'm really, really sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Just remember at the meeting to bring up the proof of all ordinal numbers that is also on the internet. And, a derivation of all ordinality. It's probably a big, pretty mathematical result. And that was the manuscript that was damaged. So I'll let you get to your meeting. Just have a nice one.